Hi everyone, welcome to another brand new episode of TheOutlier podcast. I have a very interesting guest today with me who leads experience for Pen Air. Hi Derrick, how are you doing?
Hey, Anurag, I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing amazing, and firstly, you look way more prepared for a podcast than I am.
It's not me. I got to give credit to my team and particularly Lewis Garvin, our corporate communications manager. He's sure that we're always ready to go.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Lewis was one of the people I met in a previous conversation, and he was like, he just wanted to make it absolutely sure for Derek that this happens well. So, quick introduction, everyone. So, who is Derek? Derek is the Chief Experience Officer of Pen Air, based out of a beautiful town city that I love, Pensacola. Uh, he has a varied experience across, right? He's been a credit union lifer. He spent almost 20 plus years, 20 plus years in the movement, having spent almost 20 years in security service, now moving to now in Pen Air for the last close to, Derek, if I'm not, almost 3 years, right?
That's right.
Uh, so he leads the experience charter for Pen Air. I can talk about 10 different things, but Derek, let me open the stage for you to do a quick introduction about yourself to my guest before I speak too much.
Yeah. I mean, as you mentioned, I've been in the industry 20 plus years. I live in Pensacola now, which is where Penn Air Credit Union is headquartered out of, but I'm originally from San Antonio, Texas, and really love what I do and fell in love with the industry very early on in my life. The first job in credit unions was as a part-time member service rep as a freshman in college, and very quickly I realized that this was a career for me because of the impact that we make on people's lives, not
Yeah.
only on a one-on-one basis, but exponentially through the communities that we serve. So it was almost like a life calling. I kind of accidentally fell into it, like most credit union lifers, and the rest is history, as they say.
I'm sure, I mean, the more I get entrenched into the ecosystem, I have a strong belief that all of us are here accidentally, one, and second, for a reason, right? I mean, once we are here, we stay back. I mean, I used to work for the big banks, the Fortune 500s.
Hmm.
But when I came to the ecosystem a few years back, similar to you, Derek, not that long a duration, but I'm just in love with it. And thank you for whatever you guys do, right? To empower people. It's about the single mission of people helping people, and that's all of us are in, right? Now, Eric, you've spent like I mean you've moved across multiple places as we spoke about from Texas, but moved across multiple places now at Pensacola. So what keeps you going? Because you've changed quite a bit of roles in your previous organization to now leading the entire experience charter, right? So what keeps you going?
Yeah, so it's that impact that I learned about very early in my career. I remember in my first job as a member service rep thinking to myself, I was 18, 19. Why does this person across the table from me trust me? Why are they asking me for advice, right? And really quickly, I learned that the advice that I provided, the help that I provided, the support that I provided was very meaningful to that individual. And I couldn't get it wrong. It was really important for that. I felt a responsibility. At the end of the day, finances are one of the most important things in your life. And right behind family and health, right? And your family and health are impacted by your finances. So if your finances aren't in a good place, you're gonna struggle in a lot of different ways. So I felt this huge responsibility as a member service rep. And as I continued to grow in my career, right, that responsibility expanded, not just from the person across the table from me, but to the many people that I served. And that's what kind of led me into leadership as well. The similar kind of responsibility that I feel I have for the people that I serve at my organization, whether from the time I started as an assistant manager to my
Yeah.
current role as a chief experience officer, where I lead multiple divisions of the organization. Um, the impact that we make on those people and the impact that they make becomes exponential, but also seeing people that you've worked with in the past be successful and create their own careers and forge their own path is highly rewarding for me. So those are the things that really keep me going. It's all about service to others, and impact and what we do for the people in the communities that we serve.
Got it. Understand. So now, obviously, you've been leading large teams for some time because you're in an exec role right now. So, what is the leadership approach, Derek? I mean, do you have any specific approach towards leadership while it comes to building, managing, motivating, and keeping teams running?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing is alignment. I've learned
Great.
that throughout my career, the hard way, of course, early on. And alignment comes in a lot of different ways, but alignment means that you're communicating.
Yeah.
Alignment means that you're understanding. Alignment means that the people you're leading are understanding. Alignment means that there's purpose and there's
Yeah.
shared purpose and there's shared values. Alignment means that people know how to do what they need to do, execution, right? And that has been really critical for me in my journey and learning that, because when you don't have alignment, if any one of those pieces are out of place, you really struggle to either execute or to have engagement,
Yeah.
or to have buy-in or ownership, because you want your people to have skin in the game, right? So that alignment component is hugely critical in leadership, and I think that trickles down into all of the other components that we talked about.
I think we should talk more about this, right? I mean, alignment is something, one of the very new things, Derek, that I'm hearing from you, which is very not common, it's very uncommon. We should make it more normal to talk about alignment, to talk about expectation, that what exactly is expected and what exactly have you aligned on. Because I've struggled myself on alignment through my career at times, multiple points of career. And we have to formalize more of that. But yeah, this was a fantastic point, right? Alignment, right? Now, I know you don't have a crystal ball for sure, but still, my next question might be a more crystal ballish, right? Uh, Obviously the ecosystem is changing a lot, right? After
Uh-huh.
after GSE, all of us, went to hell, which we talked spoke about a lot of new things. But yes, I mean, still there are a few table stakes that remain constant. Experience, right? Motive. These are basic that remains constant. And defining success for a credit union, it's very relative from one credit union to the other. But
Sure.
but the base is people helping people. We need to still help people no matter what. We are not here to earn money. We are not here to report our earnings to the street. No, we are not those people. So as a chief experience officer, right? So how do you define success for Pen Air? Maybe for the next 5 years, that might be a very difficult question, but do you have a take on that?
Absolutely. I mean, I know you mentioned that we're not here to report financial results to the street or
Yeah.
anything like that, but I'll start with financial strength. Financial strength is critically important for a couple of different reasons. Number one, if you're financially sound, that's a good indicator that you're doing a good job for your members. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. And number two, if you're financially sound, you have the resources to provide the value that your members need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't do the things that you need to do without that financial strength. So that has to be one of the top things that I think any credit union looks at, and really places an emphasis on, because without that foundational piece, we can't do it. The second component is member impact, obviously, right? So what does member impact look like, and what are some of the things that are important? I mentioned alignment from a leadership perspective. Well, alignment with your members and the community you serve is critically important as well. And what does that mean? Well, do we understand what our members need? Are we filling those needs? Do we understand the economic environment in which we operate in and how it impacts the members and how it impacts the credit union? So all of those things are critically important for our success, and will continue to be over the next 5 to 10 years, right? So we measure, obviously financial strength is something that we measure and we have goals around. That's pretty obvious. Member impact is measured in a lot of different ways, whether it's member value, whether it is wallet share, whether it's a member give back. We do measure that. We do understand
Yeah.
how we perform against others with respect to member give back and member value.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Voice of the member, right? We recently started a Voice of the Member program. So we truly understand how our members feel, but not just from the feedback they're telling us, but also with how they interact and how they behave. with their interactions with Panair. So those are really important, from a member experience success standpoint now and also into the future. And then finally, the third component is operational excellence. It ties into everything else that I just talked about. Whether it's, you mentioned just being at GAC and all of the regulatory uncertainty, right? So operational excellence kind of rolls up into that, and being compliant and making sure that we're doing things the right way, but also being efficient. And being efficient ties back to our financial strength and how we take care of our members. And that's another foundational piece to that. So these are all things that we measure as well. And then from a digital services perspective, that's an operational excellence component where we want to make sure that our members can be taken care of where they're at, right, and how they need. So making sure that we make it easy for them, and operationally speaking, things are seamless for them. So that's an ongoing goal that we have, that we're constantly working towards on an ongoing basis across the organization. Because at the end of the day, member experience is not me. Member experience is a practice and a function that is informed not only by our members, and again, the feedback and the way that they interact with us and the economic conditions and things that are happening in our community, but also informed by multiple functions across the organization. In fact, all of the functions across the organization.
Yeah, I think, what you touched upon to start with, that, reporting financials is so important. And member experience is not silo. That you just talk about digital experience, just talk about wellness. That's so short-sighted, right? So this is really well thought about, Derek, and I believe under your leadership, Pen Air is growing and will go to the next level for sure, right? Because it needs able leaders like you. Now, dovetailing on to one of our very, I would say, personal question that I would ask you is about strategic lesson, right? Like, I was talking to someone the other day. For that person, a strategic lesson was, that you need empathy. You need to be transparent with your team. You need to create a career path to run a good team, to run a productive team, a motivated team. But I want to ask you this question today, that do you have any major strategic learning that you've had, right, across your career that shaped what you're today? Because not everyone is a CXO of a large credit union.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are countless. I mentioned the alignment lesson earlier
Yep.
that I learned early on, but another lesson is regarding just the member experience in general, and how we frame that, and how we formulate that. And I alluded to this a second ago, that the member experience should be informed by a number of different data points, how our
Yep.
members interact with us, what they're telling us, all of that kind of stuff. We know everything about our members, right? And that's one of the hardest things for credit unions, is we have all this data, we just don't know how to operationalize it. I think at Panair we're doing a pretty decent job of that. We're not perfect, but we're certainly, I think, ahead of the game there. So listening, and what I'm getting at is that listening and understanding what the member needs, and listening and understanding to what the impacts are across the organization are critical. Because it's really easy for me to say, as the CXO in an ivory tower somewhere, what, I think members need X, Y, Z, and I think we should do this because of this. And at the end of the day, 9 times out of 10, probably 10 times out of 10, it's going to be wrong. So really thinking about who we're serving and including them in the conversation, making sure that we are truly member-centric by listening in the right ways, and then developing your strategy around those components. And I've learned that early on, because when you become a leader, it's really easy to just say, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this. And I learned early on that that's a mistake. And a lot of times you're wrong, because you don't have a crystal ball, and you can't read people's minds, and you can't just think you know everything because you've gone through certain experiences. Everything is evolving and changing all of the time. So remembering to listen has been a big strategic lesson for me as I've grown in my career through leadership, and as I've had increasing responsibility over time.
Absolutely, Derek. So that's very well taken in terms of your vision, right? the vision you have and the learnings you have, right? So again, uh, not a controversial, but a question to answer. All of us need to get together to answer this question. That yes, the credit union movement is what we strive for, but still at the end of the day, we need to be different. We need to be competitive. We need to be relevant, because again, we are not competing within the ecosystem. No, right? We are competing with larger players, and that's for real. The large banks, the new banks, the fintechs, it's real. So, what do you think the credit union industry or the ecosystem needs to do differently, right, to stay competitive and relevant? I mean, I know it's a very broad-based question, but still, I think I know you'd be one of the perfect people to answer it, having spent 20 plus years in the ecosystem.
I think we're the world's best kept secret. People know about credit unions
Yeah,
generally. You know, they know what we are, and what I mean by that is they know that we provide banking services, for lack of a better way of putting it. But people don't really understand what the capabilities that we have are. People don't understand that we can do just about anything any other financial services firm can do. In fact, a couple of days ago, I was out touring a new market that we're moving into with our market executive for that area and our chief lending officer. And we were meeting with potential clients. We were meeting with centers of influence like CPAs and things like that. And it's funny, and this didn't surprise me. I already know this, but it's funny. The common theme was, oh, I didn't know credit unions did business lending. Oh, I didn't know credit unions did this. I thought you just did auto loans and checking accounts, right? So I think for the credit union industry, we have to do a better job of communicating and sharing our value proposition, because at the end of the day, taking care of members and taking care of our communities is at the core of our DNA.
yeah,
And we know that. Some people externally know that. But the world doesn't necessarily know that, and they're not necessarily connecting it with capabilities. They think that all credit unions are, these smaller. And smaller is probably not the right term, because you have some small, very capable credit unions, but just for the sake of simplicity, smaller and less capable financial institutions that offer very basic services, which is truly not the case. And in fact, we're better positioned in a lot of cases to be able to take care of members and small businesses and the communities, right? Because our shareholders at the end of the day are our members, and we want to give back value to them. We're not we're not focused on giving value to the fat cat on Wall Street or what have you. So I think we need to do a better job there. And then, of course, some of the other obvious things that are regularly talked about is we have to do a better job partnering with fintechs. We have to do a better job of making sure that we make it easy and seamless for members and potential members to interact with us and to do business with us, because in some cases, maybe we're a little bit behind the ball there, but not in all cases, right? In some cases, we're a little more agile as well than some of the bigger players. So again, we just got to do a better job of telling our story, and we got to use the movement and our power as an industry to do that.
got it, Derek. Another very related, credit unions right now. Obviously, we are working towards attracting younger generations. I mean, people like me, the Gen Zs, or I call the zillennials, right? Gen Z is the
Yeah.
zillennials, not the millennial, right?
Yeah, and
Now,
that's part of the problem there with perception and credibility. All of the things that your neobanks, and some of these fintechs and some of these tech companies that they're communicating, we're purpose driven, we're values. These are things that credit unions have been forever. We just don't do a good job of sharing that. The things that are important to the Gen Zers, right? And we have to do a better job of making sure that these folks understand, because as an industry, our membership base, our client base is getting older. So we got to figure out how to get younger.
absolutely. I think there is it's a combination of both awareness and second products. We need innovation in the credit unions. When I talk to credit unions about BNPL, it's still alien for credit unions, but there have been fintechs who've conquered BNPL for the last 10 years, right? Actually, for the last 7 years. So
Yeah.
both of them needs to be balanced, right? Innovation, new product development, as well as communication. So that's absolutely there, right? So My question, where I was trying to, piggyback on is, yes, the average age of of a member in credit union is almost above 50 right now, right?
Hmm.
Given any credit union right now. The average age of an American, the average American is around 37 to 38. That's a 15 years gap. We are obviously indexed towards the higher side of it, right?
Right.
Those members are really, really loyal. They'll stay with you for like end of life. But again, how do you foster long-term loyalty, right? For younger generations and for people, I would say at our age, right? Because that's what you're running right now. You're smoothing the entire experience layer for Pen Air, right? So how do you think? What's your vision in that?
Yeah, I have an well, I don't know, a self-proclaimed interesting take on loyalty. Um, I think when it comes to our business, right, or any business like ours, loyalty is probably more short term than long term. And
Yeah,
short term loyalty turns into long term. But at the end of the day, people are not loyal to our credit union or to
yeah,
their bank or to their financial services
yeah,
organization
yeah, yeah.
because of any type of emotional connection, like you have loyalty to a family member or a friend or anything like that, right? They might have some loyalty to their banker, to their advisor, or what have you. But at the end of the day, members are going to be loyal until they're not.
Exactly.
Members are going to be loyal until you screw up, right? And it's really hand-to-hand combat. It's really about bunts and singles. There's a overarching strategic approach that we have to take around experience, and again, making things easier for our members, making sure that we have the right products and services that deliver value and meet their needs, making sure that they have the right access. All of those things are important, and then making sure that their interactions are positive and easy. Those are all table stakes. Those are all things that are
Yeah,
not groundbreaking or anything like that. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, that loyalty is going to come from each and every single one of those interactions. So really truly understanding what going back to what I mentioned earlier, what our members are experiencing through those interactions, and the things that we're doing particularly well, continuing the
yep.
things that we're not doing well, we're shifting
Changing,
those.
shifting course. Yeah,
And then, of course, when we think about digital and making things easier and giving people access, leading our digital transformation, leading our digital approach with a people-focused strategy, right? So digital but people-focused, I think, is important because going back to why people are loyal, it's because of relationships. So figuring out a way to make that emotional connection with our members is what's going to create that loyalty. But at the end of the day, they're going to be with you until they're not, and they're going to love you until they don't. They're going to love you until you screw something up or make something difficult. So it's our goal to make sure that we're proactive in understanding what's important to them so we don't do that.
I understand, right? So, I mean, I want to be respectful of your time. I have a one parting question, right? That's like, it's core value versus, I would say, innovation, right? I mean, we have to stick to the core values of credit unions for a reason because we are credit unions, we are not banks. But still, ensuring that we have steady membership growth because, I mean, I just want to talk about one statistics. Uh, with the recent report from Ron Chevlin, what's going on in banking, in the top three, I think the first priority was membership growth. That's like 64% of credit unions are looking for that, followed by OPEX reduction, and third was deposit growth. Essentially, deposit growth and membership growth almost dovetails into the same topic, right? Growth. So the two among three priorities are growth, right? So how do you balance the credit union mission, vision, motto, and sustainable growth? So how do you balance that, and what should be a right way approach to do that? I know you cannot answer the entire question because it's very subjective, but still, what is your opinion on this?
Yeah, I mean, sustainable growth is key. It goes back to the financial strength pillar that I mentioned earlier. Because if you don't have sustainable growth and you don't have strong financials, if you don't have a strong balance sheet, you don't have a strong income statement, it's really hard to continue to deliver value, right? And you have to you can grow, but you can do that irresponsibly too. So I mean, your guiding principles, your values, all of those things have to absolutely be intertwined with your growth strategy, and it has to be done in a sustainable manner, just like you mentioned. Because if you don't, you can go out and you can make a loan to anybody, and you can grow really
Exactly.
quick, but you're going to see the
Exactly.
effect of that in a year or two or whatever it is, right? On the other end, and you're going to be in trouble, and you're going to be talking to the people you don't want to be talking to as a result of that. So. Thinking about how we can resonate and be relevant with our members, with our potential members, and with the communities that we
Yep.
serve is
Yep.
key to that. Offering the right products and services that are needed for the areas that we serve, going back to understanding the current economic environment and the needs of the people in those communities. At the end of the day, it sounds really simple. It's a lot more complex than the way I'm going to put it, but being able to fit the needs of the people that we're serving. And that's really how you grow, because you're not going to grow by just sitting around and twiddling your thumbs. And, we're the largest credit union and, headquartered out of Northwest Florida. That alone is not going to create growth. Not only that, but we're pretty well saturated in this area, right? So we have to think about the people that we serve, because we do have members that are expanding beyond the borders of our core markets. And we have to figure out how to serve them and how to grow in areas where we're not as heavily saturated, where the growth comes a little bit easier. But again, responsibly, in a sustainable manner, and how we can steal mind share and wallet share, from other places, because we do know and we feel that we provide the best value. And when I say we, I'm not talking about Pinair specifically. I'm talking about the credit union industry.
And I think you touched upon really well. Mind share and wallet share. Unless you have the mind share, you'll never have the wallet share, and
That's right.
that's what we need to not improve, but we need to spend more time and effort because we do a fantastic job, but the world needs to know about us,
That's right.
right? That's the main thing. We're the best kept secret. But Derek, again, thank you for joining me today. I mean, this was really fun. And again, thank you for your time today, sir. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me. It was a ton of fun. I really appreciate it too.
Absolutely. Thank you.